Time to coin a phrase, lads. Let's boogie. The title and thumbnail might have given you an inkling as to what I mean to discuss, but you may still be very much confused, so allow me to explain myself. Today I want to discuss what I like to call Warframe Syndrome. To officially define the term, it's when a game has veteran players who, in sufficient numbers, treat the mentorship of newer players as a form of content, with or without an actual mentor, heavy air quotes, system in place. While Warframe is my first example of this in most cases, similar experiences hit me in Final Fantasy XIV, which prompted the creation of this video, and over my near decade of playtime in Planetside 2. Coincidentally, those are the games that you're seeing in the background now. The idea is pretty simple. Veteran players who have been with the game since the beginning, or have everything unlocked, or at least a good portion of content under their belt, they take the time out of their gaming sessions to sit down with new players and show them the ropes. In Planetside 2, I ran with the Devil Dogs outfit since I started. They got me into the game with a free beta key, and all of the old dogs from Planetside 1 helped me get my bearings. Nowadays I run around with almost everything unlocked on both of my main classes. Occasionally I'll run across a newbie who asks me how the heck did I get a thing, or how I did a thing, usually how I got into a weird spot because of the Light Assault, and I get to show off my knowledge as a Light Assault main for nearly 8 years. It's a great feeling, actually, to teach somebody something that I've worked so hard to develop on my own. We even host official trainings for infantry, armor, and air squads as a more formal means of sharing that knowledge, everything from open combat to espionage. Then there's Warframe itself, the original of this realization of mine. I hated Warframe when I first started. It was so buggy and awkward and the biggest grind I'd ever seen. But I came back later to see what the hype was all about and still didn't feel right. Finally, third time's the charm, I came back again with a friend to help me out. He was already veteran status, one of the lads who had Excalibur Prime, which is one of those frames that only real OGs get back in the very early beta days. I told him that all I wanted was the Ember frame. He stopped his Mott Endurance run, you know if you know, and invited me to a party. Then we just got the frame. We ran that mission as many times as we needed to and got my Ember frame. He then helped me figure out a good weapon that would get me through the star map and told me a few key bits of how to play or where to go for certain items. Those few hours of help were all I needed to dive into the game and never really want to come back out. I often take breaks from both of these, but every time I always come back and it always feels like home. And similarly to Planetside, I've gotten to the point in Warframe where I can just blast through any mission that I want, so I'm happy to help someone who's just started off, if only to pay it forward. That brings me to Final Fantasy XIV, which is my current obsession. I love the game, clearly, and setting the story aside, the gameplay loop is actually pretty similar to Warframe. You do raids or missions and get loot to progress. And just like in Warframe, there are plenty of people who will take a moment and have a quick tactics meeting before a boss, either if they know you're brand new or if the whole team has just wiped. Most people are pretty understanding when it comes to figuring out a new fight. I've also had some good friends give me tips about where to get certain gear or which rotations to use for better damage. Little things like that improve my quality of life, and I appreciate the absolute heck out of it. So why is this important? Obviously I'm biased towards the concept, but why did I feel the need to make a whole video about it? It's because I firmly believe that a game developing this quote-unquote Warframe Syndrome is key to its long-term health. Let me explain. When you have a game that has complex systems, like Planetside's interplay between vehicle and infantry combat or its certification points, or 14's sheer number of systems and loot, or Warframe's everything before you figure it out, it's important that people are able to figure it out with some measure of ease. If you play any of these games, it's fairly obvious that none of them really had that in the beginning, and a couple still don't even now. So how are they kicking after 5 to 10 years? If a game is so frustrating to learn, most people will drop it instead of looking up a guide or going through the trouble of asking for help, or even worse, learning it themselves. I believe the answer is this Warframe Syndrome I keep mentioning. It's the tendency for veteran players to enjoy the game even after hundreds of hours, to the extent that they will teach newer players their tricks so these newbies can thrive. And just like how it went with me, these same newbie players will often develop into veterans themselves and will pay it forward, so to speak, to teach another newbie down the line how to get more out of it. Either way, this process hugely improves the quality of life in any of the mentioned games and any others like them. It all honestly boils down to looking out for your fellow gamer. If you see a newbie struggling or one that clearly has no idea what's going on, take a moment to offer some expertise. If they don't take it, no big deal, but the sharing of that hard-won veteran knowledge can only help a game getting into its years. It's worked to hold together Planetside 2's abysmal new player experience in the early days, Warframe's gargantuan learning curve between both movement systems and general mechanics, and 14's crazier boss fights. It's better to pause to explain something to someone who's never seen it before than lose a player in a game that you enjoy. But that, as usual, is only my opinion. Ladies, gentlemen, and otherwise, thank you for joining me, and thank you for listening to the end of the video. I love to tell the Ember story about my early Warframe days, so let's have a little fun with this. Drop a comment about your quote-unquote Warframe Syndrome experience when a veteran player took the time out of their day to help you get acclimated or throw you an item to just help you through some mission. And it doesn't even have to be these games. It could be in any game you like. I love to hear these stories. In fact, it's one of the most heartwarming aspects of being a gamer. If you liked the video, hit the like button and don't forget to leave that comment below. If you'd like to see more, go ahead and drop kick that subscribe button and roundhouse the bell next to it so YouTube Senpai remembers that I exist. Down below will be a link to my Discord if you would like to join in the fun. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see y'all next round.